kind of random.
What up? It's Jens from Hip Hop Twitter Podcast with a quick message to let y'all know that we now have merch. You like t-shirts? Well, we got them. We also have mugs, we have stickers, and magnets. So if you want to have any of those items, all you need to do is go to tpublic.com and search Vegas World INC, and you'll find everything that you need. Vegas and I would like to say thank you for your support. Peace.
Apparently, they dragged me on Twitter. I don't give a f*** because Twitter's not a real place.
Twitter? Oh no, don't be trying to Twitter me, boy.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Hip Hop Twitter. I am your host, Vegas of Hip Hop Now podcast. And this podcast is brought to you by the Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/hip hop now. If you would like to know what that's all about, well, the link is in the description of this episode. Also in the description of this episode is merch. You heard it at the beginning of this episode. Yes, it's real. T-shirts, stickers, condom. Well, no, we ain't got no condoms, but you get the point. All right. With me, as always, it's the homie Yentz. What's good, man?
What's happening in Vegas? It's hot as hell down here in New Orleans. I'm hoping you don't have as much heat up in Jersey.
Not until tomorrow, where it's going to be like 90, but me and the wife plan to go to the beach, so that'll help. Right. Plus, I don't have the monster no more. I have COVID anymore, so
good.
I could go outside.
That's right.
Even though I don't know if I really had that because I didn't feel nothing. So it's either the vaccines work or the microchips work, depending on who you are, or I just didn't have any symptoms, one or the other. But let's get into it, man. Let's get into the COVID of the internet. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but just sometimes
that's how we feel.
Yentz, what the are people talking about on hip hop Twitter?
It's interesting how DJ Premier has the worst beat on Ready to Die.
What?
Yep.
Let's tell the people, what beat or beats did Premier produce on Ready to Die? That's whack.
None. He produced Unbelievable. And
oh my God.
In my opinion, there is nothing wrong
at all
with Unbelievable. Nothing. Now, you cannot like it. I would never say, that opinion would be wrong for you to not like it. But to say that Premier had the worst beat,
I don't get that. Unbelievable is so dope, partly right, because of the beat.
Absolutely it is. I think that's the whole reason why people loved it in the first place. And of course, there's no way you can get around Big's performance.
Right.
But, that beat is crazy, as they say. I don't know.
Wow.
It is way that is a really just a wild thought to say,
The wackest beat. So let me ask you this. What do you think? Obviously, it's not Unbelievable, but what do you think is the wackest beat? And maybe whack is a strong word. Maybe you feel like none of the beats are whack, but who's at the end? What is the wackest beat?
Like, all right, well, for me, Machine Gun Funk isn't like one of my most favorite beats on there. And again, we need to say, look, me saying that is not in any way a declaration of that particular beat being whack. It's just one that I if I had to pick one, a standout that I didn't really like, especially at the time it dropped. I would say Machine Gun Funk for me.
For me, I think it's Friend of Mine. And I like that song. And I like the beat, but it is the one track that sounds like it doesn't go with the rest of the album.
Yeah.
You know, in the beat and even the feel. Like it feels like a song that shouldn't have made the album because it just so different from the tone of everything. But I don't feel like it's whack. But to say unbelievable is whack, that's unbelievable. This person didn't say this back in the day. I can't believe they said this back in the day.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this, another real quick question. If you had to choose between Unbelievable and The What, which one would you think is better as far as the production?
I like The What better.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I feel like Unbelievable is a dope sample. But, and this is 2022 me speaking,
right?
But I feel like it's a loop. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a loop of a pretty loop worthy sample, if you ask me. I'm not saying he didn't do a lot of things to make it happen, but it sounds simple to my ears, as opposed to The What. I don't know if he made that, if they made that sound like that, or the sample was something weird in the song that they were able to look and say. I think, put it this way, if those are straight up samples that they looped, I gotta believe that the What sample was hard to hear and say that's a beat to be made. That's how I feel like when I hear the What. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're trying to catch samples, if you hear Unbelievable, that might be crystal clear. Like, oh, there it is. You know what I'm saying? Just loop it.
Right.
But the point. What is like whatever, however the shit go. I ain't gonna beatbox for y'all. What would you say between the two?
Oh, I'm taking Unbelievable every time. I love The What. I mean, the What is an absolute standout. But for me, Unbelievable. I think Unbelievable, where I understand where you're coming from. The What may be more creative, right? But I mean, Unbelievable. That shit is just hard. It's just hard, and I just think that's what puts it over the top for me. Just the way it's all put together is just outstanding.
What are you calling the Gap Band together? What else are people talking about on hip hop Twitter?
This is an unadulterated fact. No Way Out by Puff Daddy and the Family is a better all-time 1997 release over Wu-Tang Forever. If you disagree, explain.
What?
Yes.
Now, oh man. Well, you go first, Jens. What do you feel about this? Because I mean, I have an opinion on it,
right?
But I'm curious to see what yours is.
First off, I would never put No Way Out against the Wu-Tang Forever album. That's just like way crazy apples and oranges type stuff, in my opinion. There are joints on No Way Out, right? But I don't think there's a joint on No Way Out that I would take over. Like if you was going best joint for best joint, let's say, I don't think I could pick something from No Way Out over the Wu-Tang, anything on the Wu-Tang Forever album. I mean, we talking about Wu-Tang. Come on, man. This is like, who would ever even? I don't know anybody who would say that. So
that last statement you made, I do not agree with.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you heard me. I said that last statement you said, I do not agree with.
Okay. The track for track, you saying there's a track on No Way Out that's superior. I
think. Well, I say. Well, were you finished making your point?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. All right. So first of all, the person who says this is definitely an old head, because they just reminded me of that debate from back in '97. Where those albums were out kind of in and around the same time, and some people were making that debate. Now, it's easy for me to say Wu-Tang over Puff Daddy and Family because Puff is the lead rapper on Puff Daddy and the Family, and who in the Wu is he better than, right? But the guest appearances help him out.
Absolutely. As they should.
There's nothing on Puff Daddy and the Family that's better than Triumph, but the Benjamins is better than a lot of records on the Wu-Tang joint. And I only say that because I feel like both albums have a lot of skips. Right? Like,
okay,
they're two different vibes, right? And it's led by, Puff rapping, but he has a bunch of guest appearances, and he has a lot of songs with some dope features like Young G's with Jay-Z and Biggie, and even the Black Rob joint. But I would never say that because I just feel like this is a Puff Daddy album. Like, and this is one of the Wu's better albums, and there's no way. Like, that debate used to happen, but there's songs on Wu-Tang Forever, which just had an anniversary, and I talked about it on the episode of Hip Hop Now podcast, but there were definitely some skips after a while on there. And it would have been to me, it would have been a classic if they just would have took the best from each disc.
Trimmed it down, yeah.
Right. But then there's just some stuff on there, man. Like, come on, man. The Ghostface story. Right. His mom's coming out the crib. Kids just burst out my wig. Like, nah, man. That is like that was a hip hop quotable, that verse alone.
Right.
So I couldn't even say that because ironically, I went back and listened to Wu-Tang Forever during this anniversary, and I was like, man, this album was so dope. It could have lost that song or two, but the songs that were strong, they were really strong.
Right, no doubt, no question, absolutely.
Puff Daddy and the Family is just kind of like, it was cool for its time, but it's led by Puff, so I mean, it loses off of that. And who is this hip hop authority? You have to have a reason. Shut the fuck up. Like, what?
Yep, you got to explain. If you
got to explain it.
You got to explain it.
Man, you gonna put your damn hip hop badge away? You got to explain this.
Yo, they're trying to grab you. They're trying to grab you by the collar and push you against the wall.
Right, trying to pull you over. Well, we just explained it. I'll say this, Jensen, and to kind of end it off, but this brings up like a good small mini topic. Do you find, because we had some talks about some albums from the past and how we felt about them and going back to listen to them. And even when we were on the Apartment 5B podcast, shout out to Kill, doing the EPMD joint, and I said Unfinished Business hasn't aged well. But we know what it was like when it came out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I kind of feel that way about Puff Daddy and the Family because I felt like when it came out, like I had both the Wu and that. And I felt like, you know how when you buy two albums and both of them are great and you just hype because you know you can go back to back.
Oh, yeah.
Listening. I don't feel that way about Puff Daddy and the Family. It's sort of like I felt that way in that time, and I just take the 3 songs I like the most and they're like on a mixtape or a playlist. Do you ever find that there was an album that you either loved or thought was really dope and you go back to it and you find yourself maybe turning it off or skipping things? And I'm not talking like, paid in full, things that would just never get old to you. I just mean like that album used to be great to me, but now I'm not really into it as much.
Let's see, since we was talking about EPMD, the joint with Headbanger on it, I love that album. Played that album
Business as usual.
Yeah, Business as usual. Played that album a whole bunch, but like they're all like, I mean, for me, I didn't say this on 5B, shout out to Kill again, but the Jane series, That's
Yeah.
something when I go back, and this is all of the albums, matter of fact, I'll just say it just like that. Anytime I go back to those EPMD albums, when I originally listened to them, I listened to the Janes and I was digging on them, but after years passing, you always will find yourself going back to albums that you truly love, like we just finished saying. So yeah, when I go back to those, I'm I'm like, man, I can't believe I really was enjoying that Jane like that.
Yeah, because you know what, you bring up a great point, because I went back to that album maybe a year or so ago, and I was like, man, I played the death out of this album. But when it got to the Who Killed Jane, I was like, I don't remember this song being whack. Like, and it was really whack to me. And I was like, damn, I thought back in the days, I thought every Jane was dope, but this one was really whack. And it might have just been in comparison to the other Janes.
Right.
But yeah, man, I just was curious because, as music fans, obviously we tend to go back and listen to certain joints. And, I own a lot of hip hop and, a lot of other stuff, but a lot of hip hop. And, when you're scrolling through for something to listen to, your memory's like, oh yeah, I like that, but I don't want to hear it right now. Oh, I remember that, but I don't want to hear it right now. And a couple of times I was like, you know what, let me go listen.
Right.
And I'm just waking up to stuff like, yeah, I don't think I like it that much anymore. Like,
right. That like we see and say a lot of times, it didn't age well.
Right. Right.
When you listening to it with the 2022 ears, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I don't remember it hitting my ears in this way back then. It sounded better.
Well, you, the listener that's listening to this podcast right now, what do you think about some of these hip hop takes? Do you think Premier had the worst or wackest beat on Ready to Die? I can't even say that shit. Or do you think that Puff Daddy and the Family, Puff's debut hip hop album, was better than Wu-Tang Forever?
My God.
If you say yes.
If you say yes, explain.
Yeah, explain yourself.
If you say yes, leave your comments in the comment section on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter or Instagram. And every link to everything, including merch, is in the description of this episode. On behalf of the homie Yentz, I am Vegas. Tweet responsibly. Peace.
Peace.
Drop it on the random.